The rules just did not apply to Guns N' Roses. Bon Jovi may have been my favorite band in the world. I love Cinderella, but this album disappointed me. One of my favorite ballads of all time, Standing Alone. I always had a crush on her around 1990. So these aren't even the guys that played on that fucking album. What a shit show. Shit. 5 times platinum, the biggest album of Poison's career, and I love it. Are you being shy now? You just want hugs, don't you? I'm starting to wonder if a lot of people just come here to see the dog. You go down? Let me get... Look, I came here to do 2 things. Chew bubblegum and talk hair metal. And it looks like I'm almost out of bubblegum. Welcome to the Hair Metal Guru. My name is Anthony. They call me the Guru. And hey, we're back for another session of hair metal shit that I have framed recently. So, most people, hey, if you follow the channel, you know that I frame tons of shit, probably more shit than I need to, because I have a little side business where I sell this kind of stuff in Fargo, North Dakota, where I live. And here Charlie is already desperate to make her entrance because she loves all of her fans. Yeah, because you're so popular. So I have a Facebook page called Classic Rock Fargo. I also have one called Hair Metal Guru. I would love it if you cruised on over to those pages and liked it. I would also love it if you follow me on X at Hair Metal Guru. But I framed this shit, and it started when the pandemic happened and we were all locked down and I was looking for something to do with my time. Well, I have thousands of old magazines, Kerrangs, Circus, Hit Parader, Billboard. So I framed a few things for my house, and one thing led to another, and people started asking if I was selling it. And lo and behold, Classic Rock Fargo, my side business, was born. So I like to show this stuff because if you're a fan of the channel, maybe you're a fan of seeing this vintage framed hair metal shit. And Charlie is just desperate to be on camera. Yeah, because you like being famous. So I'm gonna create a Charlie X account and maybe even a Charlie YouTube channel, because I'm starting to wonder if a lot of people just come here to see the dog. Okay, anyway, let's get into it, shall we? Item number 1. And these have been sitting here for a few days, so I don't know exactly what I'm pulling up next because I have a shitload of stuff here. Item number 1 from 1986, an original Striper, To Hell with the Devil, ad. I think this came out of the Billboard magazine. It's 11 by 14 inches. So some old vintage Striper. You don't see that very often. Coming up next. Yeah, and you're very nice. You're very pretty. And you're very smart. And you're going to be famous on YouTube. Yeah, because everybody likes you so much. For all you Van Halen freaks, and I'm talking to you, Brian, from the Hairband Basement, an original Van Halen 5150 ad. It says the rock and roll album of the year. Obviously with Sammy Hagar, and all that shit sold really well. So some old Van Halen for you. I don't know if this is the... I do kind of like that big, huge 5150 sign. But I like shit that, shows the band and stuff. Anyway, Van Halen. I think this was kind of an underrated band for a while, especially their vocalist, David Glenn Isley. But this is for the, my fucking tripod, the top part, I'm serious, like, it's busted. So if it comes down too far, it just drops. Piece of shit. Okay, anyway, Giuffria, the album Silk and Steel, had a minor hit with the song I Must Be Dreaming. I actually really like that song. This is very pop, very AOR. Greg Giuffria from the band Angel is the namesake of this band. But like I said, David Glenn Isley, great voice, ended up singing in a band called Dirty White Boy. And if you've ever heard the SpongeBob SquarePants, I think it's when he's singing at halftime of the Super Bowl, and he has this great rock voice. Well, that's David Glenn Isley. So anyway, cool band. I think they put out 3 albums. They had minor hits, but I don't think anything ever went gold. These came out of a Billboard magazine. Let's see, Pear, of the Guns N' Roses ads for Use Your Illusion 1 and Use Your Illusion 2. I did put out a video on these albums because I'll be honest, I thought there was just a ton of filler on there. A lot of people disagree, which is fine. You're okay, you can be wrong. It's no problem. But I trimmed it down to 14 songs that maybe, so a lot of great stuff, but just a lot of filler. They obviously, didn't hurt the sales. I think these things went around 6 times platinum. I think this is either from 90 or 91, but it's when Dr. Feelgood went it says 4 million patients satisfied. So when Dr. Feelgood went 4 times platinum, but obviously the biggest selling Motley Crue album, and look how they look all nice and, they're all hanging out together. Well, shortly after this, they break up. Motley Crue gets John Corabi, puts out a really good album, but, it didn't sell very well. Vince put out a great album called Exposed in 93. Both of those projects don't do very well. They get back together in 1997 and put out one of the worst albums of all time in fucking Generation Swine. I think I had something similar to this last time. This is actually just a bigger frame. Came from Billboard magazine, but Metallica and Justice from All for 88. I do like 80s Metallica. I won't go into that too deep. Judas Priest for Turbo. And I like this poppy side of Judas Priest. So this is like 85, 86, 86, am I right? I think it's the album before Ram It Down. But a lot of, kind of keyboard heavy, if I remember right. I haven't listened to this for a while, but I like the poppy, straight ahead Judas Priest shit. Next, Great White for the album Once Bitten, and for the single Rock Me, which was a pretty big hit. This album went platinum, and then the follow-up Twice Shy went double platinum. Rest in peace, Jack Russell. That fucker had a great voice. I mean, he had a lot of personal issues. I think a lot of addiction problems. And obviously, I mean, when you think about what happened in 2003 at the Station nightclub with the fire, I mean, I'm sure whose life wouldn't fall apart after that. I can't imagine, but damn, Great White, such a solid band. Mark Kendall, great guitar player. So, Great White. Okay, I'll show this just because it's a really good movie, but it's for The Princess Bride. This came out of a Billboard magazine. So cool movie. Who's the big guy? Fucking Andre the Giant was in it. So really funny. Because you're so big. And you hate the cat. Yeah, the cat's outside killing. Okay, here's a couple things I framed. Now, I'll be honest. Roxette was actually pretty close to hair metal. I mean, they were kind of guitar-based, very poppy. I liked some of their songs. I framed this just because I sell, shit to people who, so I don't only frame hair metal, but I just posted this on X. I always had a crush on her around 1990. For some reason, I was at a thing for chicks with short hair. I don't know why, but anyway, she was really cute. So, Roxette. I was never a huge Eric Clapton fan, but he had this he had that song Tears in Heaven from the soundtrack to this Rush movie with Jennifer Jason Leigh in it. And that song went to like #1 when I was in college. It was okay, but kind of a decent movie. So cool ad for Eric Clapton. Here's one more for Roxette. What the fuck? Fading Like a Flower. Anyway, there's, I think her name's Maria or something. Geez, she was cute back then. Coming up next, this is for Alice Cooper for the single for Poison off the Trash album. This came out of a Kerrang magazine. So I love that album. I mean, that's Alice Cooper doing hair metal. That, and I think the follow-up, Hey Stupid, ton of hits on this. I mean, it went at least a couple times platinum, I'm pretty sure, 2 or 3. So, and Poison was massive. One of the most popular songs in hair metal history. Here's an ad for Whitesnake from 1987 for the Here I Go Again single. which I don't know if a lot of people know. There was an old Here I Go Again that was kind of bluesed up and not as, not as produced and not as punchy as the 87 one. I'm much more a fan of the 87 one off the self-titled album. And remember, John Sykes wrote a bunch of that shit. And then basically David Coverdale fired the whole fucking band and got all these new guys. So these aren't even the guys that played on that fucking album. What a shit show. It's a frame for the Motley Crue Dr. Feelgood single off the Dr. Feelgood album. That album sold 6 million copies, and that single was huge. It was the first single. So major album for Motley Crue. Just talked a little bit about them. Speaking of Motley Crue, from the album Girls, 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 this was a double A-side single. Again, most of the stuff that has ads for singles and not just the album came from Kerrang out of Great Britain. But a double A-side single that had You're All I Need and Wild Side. I thought You're All I Need was a really cool ballad, and Wild Side is one of the greatest Motley Crue songs of all time. Speaking of Whitesnake, an ad for the 1987 self-titled album. I don't know why, but I think this is a cool ad. Like, I dig this shit. It looks kind of old school, and so I don't know. I just think that looks cool. My favorite Whitesnake album. I also love Slide It In, and I don't know if I'm huge on the 1989 Slip of the Tongue album. I like it, but those other two are my favorites. For you Bon Jovi fans, and Bon Jovi may have been my favorite band in the world when they put out Slippery When Wet and then New Jersey. I loved the New Jersey album. A lot of cool cowboy metal songs, Wild as the Wind, Stick to Your Guns, Ride Cowboy Ride, that dusty old acoustic song. And one of my favorite all-time songs from Bon Jovi is the song Blood on Blood. It's about, a story about John, and his 3 best friends growing up and all these things they went through, and now he's older, but he's looking back. And, I don't know, it's just, it's a song that really brings me back to high school and thinking about my best friends, and that's a cool thing. So, Great White, Psycho City from 1992. And this is about, I'm sure this album did not go platinum. It probably went gold, but this is about the time where hair metal bands were not able to go platinum anymore, just like Warrant's Dog Eat Dog went gold. So, but solid album, Psycho City. I like that ad. Killing is the cat's business, and business is good. Okay, I'm not a Nirvana fan, but I framed this because there are a lot of people around here who like Nirvana. Nirvana, In Utero, 1994. Son of a bitch, I love these frames, but they get, they're Walmart frames. They're cheap. They look cool, but you got to be very careful with them. So this one's cracked. Anyway, for the Black Crowes, and I think, and this is for the single for Jealous Again. I really liked that first Black Crowes album, but I'll be honest, after that, they never did anything again that I really gravitated to. I probably didn't spend a lot of time because I did, the follow-up shit, what was it called? I can't remember. I didn't like the songs that I heard from the follow-up, so I kind of bailed on them after that. Poison for Open Up and Say Ah from 1988. I just did a YouTube short reading the Kerrang's top 20 albums of 1988, and Poison, Open Up and Say Ah wasn't on the list. And that's surprising because Kerrang promoted hair metal like a bastard. So I don't know why, but shit. 5 times platinum, the biggest album of Poison's career, and I love it. For those of you who really liked the later, I loved the 1992, 93, 94, and even 95. Some of the best hair metal albums came out at that time when bands were like, hey, grunge is forcing us to get a little bit deeper with our lyrics, a little bit harder with our music. Some bands overtly went grunge, and sometimes it kind of worked. Warrant's Ultraphobic is an example, but Winger's Pull is a great fucking album. It might be my favorite Winger album. So, shit, and that's a cool ad. So, Winger, Pull. Talk about bands that were just too late to the party. This is for the Taikito album, Don't Come Easy. What was that first single? Fuck, I'm gonna... Forever Young was a minor hit. You know, the video on YouTube has millions of views. One of my favorite ballads of all time, Standing Alone, is on this album. Amazing, heartfelt, heartbreaking lyrics to that song. So very pop metal, AOR-ish metal, but such a solid album. And Danny Vaughn has a fantastic fucking voice. Like, he sounds like somebody who could sing for Journey. I'll be honest, I love Cinderella, but this album disappointed me. Heartbreak Station, there is some good... Shelter Me was a good single, but you know, there were horns and shit, and I'm like, this is a cool song, but what are you doing? The ballad Heartbreak Station, I really liked. I actually liked one of the kind of country songs they did on this thing called One for Rock and Roll. And I know bands have to grow, I understand that. But, you know, there was not a lot for the fans of Gypsy Road, Night Songs, Shake Me, Somebody Save Me. You know, if they could have put in some of that bluesy shit, but still kept some of what made fans fall in love with Cinderella, I think this album would have been much better off. But I think to a lot of people, it's disappointing. It's my least favorite Cinderella album. I like the 1994 Still Climbing better, and obviously I like Long Cold Winter and Night Songs better. Speaking of Night Songs, holy shit, the title track, amazing. Shake Me, Somebody Save Me, Nobody's Fool, Push Push, Once Around the Ride. What a fucking album. It says the Cinderella Shakedown. I won't read that. Maybe you can pause it if you want to read that, but I worship this album. From Kerrang! An ad for the Sweet Child of Mine single, and hopefully I have another one, because this single was so huge, they actually put out 2 ads. So there's this one, and then there's kind of a blue one with a band picture on it. And you didn't see that. I have like every fucking Kerrang! You did not see that very often, but obviously Appetite and this song were so huge that the rules just did not apply to Guns N' Roses. Most people who follow this channel know that I'm a huge AC/DC fan. Well, this is the album that brought AC/DC back. The mid and late 80s were not really kind sales-wise to AC/DC. In 1990, they put out the Razor's Edge with the lead-off single, Thunderstruck. And Matt, that song and that album brought them back to the forefront of rock and roll in America. Album sold 6 million copies, and you still hear Thunderstruck in sports arenas all over the country. Back to some Metallica off the And Justice for All album, an ad for the Harvester of Sorrow single. And I think I said this before, And Justice for All is my least favorite of the early Metallica albums. I like the Black Album, Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning, and Kill 'Em All better than And Justice for All, but I still like And Justice for All. More Metallica for the 598 EP, Garage Days, re-revisited. So I like shit when they do covers. That kick-ass cover of So What, if you remember the lyrics, is awesome. And you know, and I'm a big punk fan, so they tend to cover some punk shit, so it's a cool album. Well, speaking of bands that had more than one different ad, here's another ad for Harvester of Sorrow from Metallica off the Justice album. So there's another, and I think that's only, well, I'm sure there was more, but again, you just didn't see it often. But Metallica were getting ready to explode, and Guns N' Roses had exploded. Okay, here's one for Metallica's One single. The first time they ever did a video. You know, they always kind of said they weren't going to, but then they did a video, and it did really well. That military story about the guy who lost his ability to speak, hear, see. You know, he's basically just a stump. Really kind of a heartbreaking song and video, but Metallica won. Can you go down? Let me get... All right, I have more to show, but I think I'll do that in a separate video. This is going to be a little over 20 minutes. So again, this is my little side business, Classic Rock Fargo. I sell this shit. I put it up in my house. You know, if I don't sell it, I try to frame stuff that I think will sell, and stuff that I like. So, you know, my garage is full of this stuff. So hopefully you dig that. Hey, if you're new to the channel, please like, please subscribe, and hey, comment. Tell me what you thought of some of the frames. Tell me what stuff you would like to see in the future. Until the next video comes out, my name is Anthony. They call me the Guru. Take care.